Hey guys, Akimurasaki here. There's been a lot of doom and gloom and, well, frankly, very political stuff in my videos, so I decided to do a couple of videos about Arknights, Endfield that I've been playing almost religiously until I took a short break for other gacha games that I've been neglecting, but I just want to show off in a couple of videos like how my base looks like, what are my strategies, and how I'm managing so far in the game. I'm actually not as far as a lot of the people, but regardless, I decided to share some of the kind of tips and tricks, so to speak, that maybe help some beginner players who just started the game and are constantly running into resource shortages in their factories and resource collection, and just feel like, yeah, why not? Maybe some of my advice is going to be useful to some people. So let's get started. Oh, by the way, I'm playing the game primarily in Japanese, so there are going to be probably terms that are a little different in the English version, so I'm just gonna try to translate them as best as I can. We're going to be talking factory today, so I'm gonna try translating them as best as I can into English, but there might sound completely different English, so I'm sorry about that. I know some of the resources have completely different names, like there's the ferrum, I think coprum or something, in the English version. In the Japanese version, well, you typically see kanji, so the names are, I would probably say they have to be self-explanatory, otherwise, yeah, how do you even translate them? But yeah, I'm currently, I think, in my fourth or so. Now I'm trying to remember. I think I'm in my fourth valley currently. Let's just go back a little bit to see how far have I gotten. Let's see. So 1, 2. Actually, that's not free. I think this is the third one, the fourth one, and probably the fifth one. I can't remember, to be honest. But let's start from the first one. I'm just going to show you guys how, in general, my map looks like. It's a little chaotic because I've been laying down a lot of what's it called? Utility poles, the big ones all over the place to get some of the energy in. And yeah, it's a little messy, I have to say. However, I still kind of like it, and I think it's looking pretty decent overall. So let's start with the main base. I'm going to show you some of the things I did, some of the things that I also kind of figured out from online guides, because I'm going to be honest, I'm not as nearly as good as resource management as some other people who are absolutely like min-maxing the hell out of this game. I'm doing okay, but I do notice that a lot of people are not doing okay, and therefore I decided to share some of my insights. Okay, so let's start with the overall resources here, how my base looks like and stuff. So one of the things I try to take it slow overall with adding new pipelines, because balancing them, especially when you unlock, yes, the blue mineral, the blue iron mineral, yeah, that's what it's called, in Seitekkobutsu, that's what it's called in Japanese, Seitekkobutsu, and there is also Shishokubutsu, which is the purple one, and then we have, I can't remember, I think this one, Originium is the original name because it's not read as the kanji state here, for instance. But anyway, normally what I try to do is I try to max out what I have in my stock, in my warehouse, and then basically I look at how the minerals are being consumed by the different factories, and this is especially true for the blue ore, the purple ore, and originum. Sorry, I forgot the orinium ore. Never mind. The brown rocks, whatever. The brown rocks, yeah. So I usually try to have a fairly big amount, and then I start adding things that consume them, and then balance out the factories accordingly. And I usually do it over the course of half a day or 1 day to make sure I don't accidentally exhaust something. Because if your pipelines are poorly balanced, it's very easy to drain all of your energy production and end up with nothing, basically. So let's start here maybe. One of the things I learned from like an online guide, and I did actually modify it. I did make it, I think, a little better in general and a little more optimized than the guide itself. It's kind of having some of these like self-sustaining factories where you have one plant that produces seed and the other one that produces the actual plants. And you can kind of feed one to the other, as you can see here. So you can feed one to the other like this. And when you do that, you basically have like a self-sustaining factory ecosystem here. And the access is obviously going to be stored in one of these storage units like here, which one currently is maxed out. Now, in the guide itself, I noticed that people typically have 2 storage units, one for each side. But this is assuming that you have completely different resources, completely different plants being produced. I don't think it makes any sense. I think it's actually more efficient space-wise if both sides produce the exact same thing on one side of this entire assembly line here. And so on the other side, for instance, I do produce the apples, the space apples, whatever they're called, kyoka. Yeah, so it produces the space apples and the seeds, the space apple seeds. And again, we also have only one storage unit which feeds into it. And then obviously, if it gets filled up, that is completely fine. That's the entire purpose of it. Important thing, do not ever place a storage unit taking different types of resources, because you will very quickly max out with all of the 6 slots with one of the resource, and you will not be able to produce the second one, and you will block one production pipeline. No good, this completely sucks. Now, as you probably notice, I am producing way more, both actually lemons here and apples. I'm just going to show you what the lemons are actually called. Storome are the lemons called in the Japanese version. And as you can see, I'm producing both of them, too much of them, which essentially means that I could very easily build up new units producing medicine and fruit. And as you've seen here at the very beginning, yes, I'm producing too many of them. I could probably balance this out to have more fruit production plants, but yeah, not necessarily, because, and this is the second thing we're going to get into, which is producing medicine, so medicine units here, but also producing the capsules. I noticed that the original blueprint involves only one assembly lines for the blue and I think originally purple bottles, and one side that produces the powder itself. In this case, it's the apple powder. I don't think this is properly optimized. And I also do not think that my current pipeline is properly optimized, because as you will quickly see, I have way more powder than I have the blue bottles, because the bottles are produced way slower, as you can see here. And for some reason also, I am actually stupid. That is essentially the reason. Okay, never mind, forget what I just said. I'm just being silly here. Yeah, I'm simply not producing enough bottles. But in general, I did notice this with the purple bottles, that you need 2 lines producing purple bottles to compensate for the single line producing the powder. And that basically then kind of maxes out the production of the medicine itself. It just makes way more sense, I would say. Yeah, that's how I would, in general, kind of, And let me see if I can actually add, because I can just drop this here, and that instantly saves the problem. Now, the other thing that comes up very quickly, also you will notice, is that you will run out very quickly. You will run out, especially when you're starting the game, of the exits from your base that deliver the resources to the pipeline, and the ins. I actually find it very strange that you have way more ins than you have the exits. I don't necessarily know why this is the case, but I hope maybe in future patches, in future upgrades, they will balance this out properly, because I don't think this makes any sense. But in principle, once you start adding the entire wall pipeline here, and you can have either new exits or new entrances, then you need to obviously balance out both the pipelines, and you also need to balance out like how the resources flow. Like here, for instance, we have 3 ins, 3 outs. I could have balanced it way better. I didn't, but that's completely fine. I could have had like a third one here, for instance, delivering to here. And then, so this is a little suboptimal in terms of production, but also eventually I would run out of energy. So yeah, I'm not winning anything here essentially. Now I started producing blue batteries. And for batteries, this is also absolutely essential that you balance your pipelines accordingly, because if you do not, you will very quickly pay the price. And the price is everything coming to a halt because you ran out of energy. And that's hella painful. So don't do that, basically what I'm trying to say. One of the other things I kind of want to mention here is some pipelines are going to be way harder to balance and way harder to extend, and these are the mixer pipelines here. I can't remember what this is actually called in English. This is what it's called in Japanese here under the F key. The reason why these are notoriously harder to balance is because you have many. So in this one specifically here, it's not as bad because I'm adding the sand leaf powder, and the what was it called, the lemon powder as well, in addition to already something that I produced in like a different pipeline. As you can see, I have the blue crystals, and I do the blue lattice, and I produce out of this the highest level of blue bottles, and then eventually I produce the purple lemon food cans, so to speak. So I kind of shortened this pipeline by a lot, but normally this pipeline would be way longer, because the entire production of the blue lettuces is actually done at the very end of my entire factory, and that is happening. Sorry, need to go through this a little bit. Well, it's not that bad. But as you can see, I'm also working through half products on both sides. So it's a bit of cheating. Theoretically, I could extend this entire thing to funnel to produce the powder, and then straight away having the mixers and produce the blue cubes. I could have had that, but building, as I said, building the entire pipeline with literally everything, that is simply not going to work. I will straight away say this. Do not even try. It's simply not worth it. I noticed this in some of the game tutorials. You are able to build the entire pipeline. Once you build the entire pipeline, it is going to be extremely hard to balance it properly. You will eventually run out of one of the resources, or the entire pipeline is going to slow down because of one of the resources, and it is honestly simply not worth it. However, one thing that I am definitely doing wrong here, and this is something I will need to kind of rework in the future, is how I'm treating some of the pipelines. Because as you probably noticed, yes, I'm including the ultimate blue bottles here, and I'm producing the blue lettuces there, but also some of the pipelines here are unnecessarily scattered. Actually, this one, as I showed you, is kind of unnecessarily scattered to the side. I could have probably just had like a slightly longer pipeline. And the reason why I'm saying this is that, as you can see, eventually you simply run out of the base sites. And this is it. I think you can put 2 more in here side by side, but that's then very tight, and unfortunately that is essentially it. It's not terribly helpful. But yeah, that is my base. My other bases, I can show you guys one of the other ones. This one here, this is the second one. I think Valley 2 it's called in the English version, or what people typically call this. This is the one where I'm putting most of my power plants. And I maybe I'm going to explain a little bit the reason why I'm doing it like this, why I'm balancing them like this, the blue and the green batteries, and why it's only a single one per per slot, per kind of like exit here. I tried having 2 and 3, but having 3 is very suboptimal because eventually one of the... First, you don't really have space. Like, you don't exactly have space for this, let's be honest, okay? You're gonna... It's kind of like... Kind of 2, maybe 3... Not really. You're not gonna have space for this. Okay? Now, that's one reason. The other reason is that when I still had only green batteries, I tried having, I think, 3 per exit, per assembly line exit, and that just didn't work because the batteries were not delivered quickly enough, and the whole balancing of the pipeline just wouldn't really work. But I can probably rework it a little bit. I could have 2 maybe. I am currently switching from green batteries to blue batteries because I'm selling the blue batteries actually. Oh, sorry, that doesn't make any sense. I'm selling the blue batteries, so I'm slowly swapping to blue batteries. And as you can see here, I'm still producing a lot of the blue batteries. And so I'm kind of just like switching one by one. I can have a little more electricity here with the green batteries. Not sure how well this is going to be balanced, but let's see. Worst case scenario, if you accidentally run into an... Oh, sorry, not blue batteries. This was supposed to be green batteries. My mistake. If you eventually run into like an energy shortage and you are no longer able to produce enough electricity, do not fret. There is a solution to this. And that's actually a very easy one. All you have to do is put in some of the originium ore, sorry. And then you will start producing some electricity. And slowly but surely, you will restore your factories and all of the pipelines. Option number 2, which is a little harder, is that you go running around and then you start beating up some land breakers until they start dropping green and blue batteries, which very quickly happens actually. And then you can start powering some of your power plants and restoring all of your pipelines. And then it's just magically going to eventually work. So don't fret it. It happens to the best of us. But as I said, the most important part is you being very, very careful with the resources. If something's starting to run low, you are going to run into shortages and you are going to run into issues. So try to stay clear of it and you're going to do just fine. But that's basically it from my side when it comes to base building. I hope you guys learned something and I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I see you in the next one. Mata ne!